do a chart interpretation. The focus is going to be business. We're going to start a little bit from the basics, but go quite fast into what the question is. So here we have a 3-6 profile. We have a manifesting generator. It's an emotional authority. The 3-6 profile is not very common. It's about 2.4% of the population, I believe, that has this profile. And there is a resonance between the 3 and the 6. The 3 is the third line of the first trigram, or the lower trigram, and the 6 is the last line of the upper trigram. So there's a harmonic between them. And it means that the 6th line, because there are 3 phases in life if you have a 6th line, the 6th line is all about having 3 phases in life, where you're first in trial and error for 30 years, as a third line very much. Then you are in a phase of discernment, where up on the roof, and then you have from 50, you have a role modeling phase. So important here to understand the first 30 years, there is going to be all about trial and error. It's like a 3-3 profile. That's the way that this being is going to move through the world. It's a 3-6, but the 6 is going to have that phase of being a third line. So somehow this is even more, can feel like bumping into everything than if it's a 4-6, because the 4 is remaining a 4, but here we have a 3-3 basically. So the 3 is about experimentation, it's about dynamism, it's about fire, it's about not having an agenda, it's about interactions with the other. That doesn't always have to be long, deep relationships. It's more like an intense coming together. And then next day, the third line might want to do something else. And the 6th line is the visionary, it's the role model. And here we have the 6th line in the body. So the mind cannot manipulate it. And this is the body of the future. This is the body that shows us how we walk into the future. It's important for the 6th line to be nurtured, in the sense that being surrounded with other people, with other places, communities that have a similar vision. So even if the third line necessarily isn't all about consistency and relationship in that sense, it needs the nurturing of knowing that the future, it's not alone going into the future, we could say. And I would even go so far to say that the third line, often when the life becomes really, when they feel a lot of satisfaction, is when they have found something that they can be so wholehearted about, so that they don't even have to think about bonds made and broken. They don't even have to think about, is this the right place for me? It just, the fire is ignited there over and over again. That's often when the third line feels like, oh wow, now life is amazing. Because it can be hard to be the one breaking the bonds and then having other people actually, you know, being angry with you or even shaming you for not being able to be consistent, not being able to nurture relationships. But actually, as a 3-6, it's more about nurturing the vision. And I think that this might be a sidereal chart, because if I remember right, Cecilia is a 1-3 and has a little bit more definition than this chart. So for me, I like to look at sidereal when it comes to the gene keys, because it's like a map. When it comes to the mechanics of human design, I actually like the tropical, because I can see that is where we really can see the not self. And it's almost like the sidereal is kind of showing us not where we are here to decondition, but kind of how we already are after the deconditioning or something. That's a little bit my impression. So I should probably have asked that before I go into this, but let's leave that for now and just look at this chart. So emotional authority, and it's a split definition. So here there could be a lot of turbulence. Being a 3-3 the first 30 years and having all these emotional gates together with the ego center, this can be very turbulent. There is turbulence, there is dishonor, weakness, exhaustion, control, and victimization. Those are the shadow frequencies. And since this is the authority, that's going to be very powerful in this chart. So here I would say it is about finding the 40 and the 37. Here is about finding a tribe where there can be like a healthy exchange with the other. And also I would say again, when you don't do anything if you don't feel completely committed to it, because if you are completely committed, you can do it. But if you aren't, it's going to probably end up in drama. I think it's important here to remember that we have this sacral center defined, and we have the other channel here, which is the 20 and the 34. So there, I feel like there's a lot of energy in this chart with this kind of motor part here, and then also the direct pure manifesting generator. So important here to be, are you just busy with your energy, or are you using it for something that feels that feels like it's worth it? And maybe for a long time in life, it's kind of just using the energy and learn from the outcome. But at some point, there is going to be more purpose. And that's probably, if it hasn't happened before, that is probably what's going to happen at the age of 30. And I think, Cecilia, that you might not be 30 yet. So there can have been a lot of turbulence, a lot of trouble, a lot of trial and error that has been fueling your life. What I see really powerful in this chart is the 8 and the 1 and the 31 and the 7. So this is where I kind of feel the business focus, because this is here, and it's here to give you spice in your life. It's here for you to feel and to be committed to the things that are important for you. But really what I see in business is much more the 31-7 and the 8-1. And it almost feels like, you might think that you're kind of a traditional leader in some way, but there is something very creative that is in the body that could maybe be a little bit less apparent. So that's your Mercury on the design side. And it is your, what's the one? The one is the Saturn. The stability and the Mercury are connected. Yeah, so in order for you to feel stability in some of all this turbulence that's there, it's very important for you to tune into this spontaneous sparking creativity, and also accepting when you don't have that sparking creativity. Because with all this energy from the emotional center and all this energy from the manifesting generator channel, you might want something to happen all the time. But here there's an acceptance of when it's not sparking, and to not push the leadership or to not push the activity necessarily when the spark isn't there. So these are the two channels where I feel like there is something with who you are, who you know that you are, where you know that you're going, that can be spoken in the world, and that is very impactful. I am going to go right into this chart, and it's very clean, no keywords in this one. And here we are looking at the pearl for business more than anything. It's funny that we have the 36.6 in the pearl, because this is turbulence of the highest octave. And that goes so perfectly together, both in the numbers, 366. But if we think about the 36, what it is about, it's about turbulence. And I said it twice before in the same sentence, because that's your essence, to be here even when things are in tension, to not close down even when things are in tension, to actually open up more to humanity, to compassion when things are in tension. And there is something, I believe, with all that energy that's in your chart that doesn't really allow you to be present, and just being present. That's the 20. And there might also be some guilt that you're feeling. There might be some pressure from family, from lineage, of what you should do, that is making you feel like whatever path you take, it's gonna, you know, you're kind of a victim. It's gonna be wrong. Either you're going to feel bad because you're not doing what you want to do, or other people are going to not be happy. So the fifth line core wound is always a bit tricky, for sure. But it is for you to be able to kind of just forgive that whole thing of you not being in the same frequency, in the same, necessarily like having the same destiny as your lineage, as your culture, you know, wherever it is that we come from. Especially when we change countries and culture, it is about leaving that behind and being in the now, in the present, and being in your expression and your impact in that 20.5. And this is also powerful because the culture is very connected to the 36. We can see in the wheel, we don't have the wheel here, but they're both Pisces gates and they're after each other. So here we have the Jupiter that is in Pisces, which is interesting too, because we are going to have Jupiter in Pisces now when it comes out of Aquarius and it goes forward. There is something where I feel that can feel like expansion for you when you're going to have Jupiter coming on your culture, coming on your Pearl, coming on your Jupiter. You know, it's that. That is very powerful. It feels like that can ignite something in you. So being able to hold the turbulence, being able to kind of be that portal of grace, that invitation to feel everything, which is the 22, the openness to feel everything, and then letting go of some of the ways that how things should be. That is how you step into your leadership. That is how you are a change maker in the world. That is how you can have, you know, the people following you. But it's going to take maturity to embody these parts of the Venus. And we see here a lot of leadership in the chart. We see those repeated numbers. We have the 20 also in the intimacy. So here we see intimacy can actually unlock your core wound. How much are you tuning into this 20.6? You have the intimacy where we are humans in an animal body. So animal body, human heart, creator mind. How much are you stepping into that tantric way of connecting with the other? How present can you be with that way of connecting with the other? When you are unlocking the 20.6, your core wound can be unlocked. This is even like a higher number, we could say. So when this is unlocked, this is going to be unlocked too. So I would say a way for you to work with your vocation, with your core wound, is this tantric transmutation. And not alone, like you want to include, these are the people you're attracted to you. This is also your intimacy, the intimate relationships. That is very important. And then there is something about, there's a loop here with the IQ and the EQ that we call the Eden loop. And there is something about what is leadership and what has been projected on you that leadership is. Fifth line and second line, a lot of projection. What is that? And it feels like with the fifth line in the SQ, you didn't have parents that were role model for leadership. Instead, they probably had to do, it was control. And maybe it's more your kind of your origins. Maybe it's the culture that you came from, where there is a lot about control and not true like freedom and authority. So you are unpacking, what is it to be a leader that's present in the moment, that is aware in the now, and what is it that you have to leave behind in order to step into your true authority and step into being a role model, to be your own parent that your inner child is going to be proud of. And then in relationships, again, we have this second line, this theme of reciprocity. Are you engaging in relationships where there is reciprocity, where it feels like you're both empowered in leadership? Otherwise, you want to show yourself, you want to, there is kind of the PTSD of not having had that. So you want to show yourself that that's possible to have. So when you are including becoming a role model, stepping into your authority, living out that leadership, that reciprocity in relationships, going deep into this way of the intimacy, the awareness in the moment, and the knowing that intimacy can be everything from just kind of the animal body merging to the passion, to the playfulness, to the romance, to the sensuality. All that is there for you to explore. that's when you are not going to be stuck in those fifth lines of projection and guilt, and trying to use your mind to find a solution. Your mind is not the solution for your business, it's not the solution for your vocation. Instead, you have this cross that is all about unexpected things. And you are anchored in that 28, living life full in every moment, being present in every moment, making love in every moment, allowing, being that portal of grace. That's the way that you're living this out. Yeah, it's a powerful chart for sure. If this is your sidereal chart, I would also compare it to the tropical chart and kind of see what is the overlay of the Venus sequence. What is the other kind of loop that you might be doing? There's always like a Venus loop, you have Eden loop, and then there's the loop between the IQ and the core. And then of course there's the loop here, where you're not here to have an agenda. And that can be part of what this pathway of realization wants in the lower frequency. It wants an agenda, it wants impact. But that would be superficial for you to go from just impact. That's kind of being the masculine. When you're here to expand through the feminine, to that 36, the humanity and that grace. That's the feminine way of expanding, the tantric way of expanding. Okay, thank you.